Video game soundtracks. It's one of those types of music that I either love or hate. Sure, they do have a great soundtrack, but the fans are terrible. They always talk shit about other genres because it isn't real music. Anyway, there's a lot of good video game soundtracks, for example, the Kingdom Hearts and Silent Hill franchise. But there is one gaming soundtrack that is my favorite. Remember Street Fighter 3? No, not the first generation. No, not the second Impact. There you go, yes, I'm talking about Third Strike, which is still popular alongside Street Fighter 2. The game is excellent and was ahead of its time with combos and soundtrack, so today I'm going to be more focused on the history and the soundtrack of the game, which I adore because if you play all other Street Fighter games, it doesn't come close to Third Strike when it comes to game soundtrack. It has diverse genres such as breakbeat, jazz, hip hop, drum and bass, and house music. But before we take a look at the soundtrack on this game, let's talk about the history of how the game was flopped and became the second most memorable Street Fighter game. After their success with Street Fighter 2 and many different versions of this game, Capcom announced the development of their third installment in 1996. During the development, there has been a rise of 3D fighting games such as Virtua Fighter and Tekken series that were blowing up and were taking over not only the arcade but also at home consoles. General producer Noritaka Fumimizu stated that decision saying, "We feel that 3D is not really suitable for the head-to-head fighting, and to be frank, Capcom didn't really have the techniques to display high-quality graphics in 3D. On February 28, 1997, Street Fighter 3 New Generation was released. At first it was successful when it launched, but time went on and it flopped with not many people playing it anymore. The reason why it failed was because it only came out in the arcades, which in the late 90s, arcades were dying. Having arcade fighting games on home console was more successful than the arcades itself. Another reason why it failed was it was 2D, which 3D games were more popular. That I explained about how 5th generation consoles were more popular in 3D. And one more thing about it, on the home console version, it was more popular because it has many game mode, which in the arcade it didn't really have many of them. Since it flopped, Capcom decided to have another version of Street Fighter 3 like how they did in Street Fighter 2, but they wanted the second version to be more popular than the first generation, so on September 30, 1997, Capcom released their second version of Street Fighter 3 called Second Impact. This version also flopped and was way less popular than the first version of Street Fighter 3 because it was still only released in arcades, which still didn't have many home consoles during that time. But do you know which both of these games only have on consoles? The Dreamcast version, which came out 3 years after both of these Street Fighter 3 versions were released, so the fans have to wait for the console version until 2000. The Dreamcast version came out the same year as the PS2 console launch, which you know how they ended up for that. But let's take a year earlier because on May 12, 1999, Capcom released their third version of Street Fighter 3 called Third Strike. The game still wasn't successful during the launch, but it began to be more successful than the first two versions of Street Fighter 3 in the 2000s. They added more characters, stages, and soundtrack included. It became the most popular Street Fighter 3 version with many different home consoles like PS2, 3, 4, Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch, unlike the first two versions which only had the Dreamcast. Now that we have the history of Street Fighter 3, we will talk about the soundtrack history and what songs they have. The soundtrack on the first two versions of Street Fighter 3 was more into drum and bass and breakbeat, but the soundtrack on this game is a lot more different than the last two Street Fighter games or versions because not only did they have just drum and bass and breakbeat, but they also include hip hop and house music that also had vocals on it. Street Fighter Third Strike led to hip hop influence, which at the time it wasn't common to have rap songs in fighting games other than games with hip hop themes at the time. Hideki Okugawa was a composer for the Street Fighter 3 series. He tried to make a jazzy hip-hop song for the Third Strike soundtrack, but they needed a vocalist, so they traveled to Canada to find a perfect rapper to rap on the soundtrack. You may ask, why Canada? Why couldn't they go to New York, which was the birthplace to hip-hop? Well, throughout its history, Capcom always hired Canadian voice actor for his English dub, for example, Resident Evil and Dino Crisis. Capcom held an audition for rappers to rap on the soundtrack of Third Strike. Capcom chose the winner, Desmond Francis, which goes by his stage rap name, Infinite. The reason he landed on that role of the soundtrack was that he had an adaptable ability to rap over fast-paced music in some of the Third Strike soundtracks. You hear his fast-paced songs that feature Infinite vocals. And now, let's actually get into the soundtrack. When you first start the game, you just see the Capcom logo. After that, you get into an intro showing the characters. You hear the song playing while showing all the characters, but it isn't just an ordinary fighting game music. It was very surprising to see rap vocals appear in the fighting games, which was never heard before. This song is great, so great that they had a full intro for the album of the Third Strike soundtrack on the second disc. The lyrics on Third Strike talks about preparing for the competition for the Street Fighter tournament. When you start the arcade mode, another song appears called Player Select, which is the theme selecting your characters, and another rap song? And it's good again? Jesus, they must have given infinite amount of time rapping over character selection, which helps to know which characters will be the best to choose. It's originally called Let's Get It On, and the lyrics talks about picking the best character to fight for the battle. Alright, we're skipping for the first part because it's only 5 seconds long and you just heard of it during my intro track. So for tracks 4 to 22, I'm going to talk about the character stage music. But before we talk about it, I will go through the list of the album of Third Strike that is on Spotify. China Fox is a song from Chun-Li's stage. It's a breakbeat song with a looping DJ scratching playing. This song fits Chun-Li's moves since she can do 100 leg kicks really fast. Jesse NYC 99 is a song from both Alex and Ken's stage. This song, you guessed, is a jazz breakbeat song without vocals. Sometimes the music stops changing another melody to it. The Beep, yeah, that's what the title is called. The Beep is a song from Remy's stage. This song's a breakbeat and it sounds like one of those arcade fighting games you used to play. Spunky is a song from Makoto's stage. It's a fast-paced drum and bass song and I love how much the song goes faster and even has a sound, which is definitely my favorite part about this. Kobu is a song from Ryu's stage. It's a really special song because it's another breakbeat song, but you might not know this because you just speedrun to beat Ryu before the beat drops. But when the beat drops, it goes crazy and then goes back to how it was at the beginning. Snowman is a song from Necro and 12 stage. It's another drum and bass song that adds a jazz element to it, like having the trumpet while the drum and bass are playing, which is amazing. I want to see this type of drum and bass songs have jazz stuff to them. The Long Joorman is a song from John and Oro stage. This song is another breakbeat but has jazz element to it, similar to the last track without the drum and bass. Destroy the Car bonus stage. There's a different version of the song of these two versions. The arcade version has the drum and bass during the bonus stage, while the home console version has the jazz hip hop instrument on it. And I love the home version a lot more because it has a very catchy tune to it. Beast in My Head is a song from Alenia's stage. It's house music that has a vocal only lyrics saying Beast in My Head repeatedly, but the song is much better without fighting someone, because it gets really annoying on the stage if you keep on losing against Alenia. The best part is when the beat stops and change it. This is the only stage music that has vocals as well. Twilight is a song from Ibuki stage, and oh my god, Twilight has to be my favorite stage song of this game because it has an amazing breakbeat with a ninja theme to it, cause you know, Ibuki's a ninja. If you like this song so much, then the next track is crazier. Killing Moon is a song from Akuma stage. I don't know what to explain. This song is like a remix version of Twilight with drum and bass added. It kind of matches Akuma's character since he's really aggressive with many moves, including his special moves. Was Noritaku in a punk band while playing this? The Circuit is a song from Hugo stage. It's another breakbeat song with guitar playing as well. He even added some random guy's voice repeating saying "The Circuit" with no effort. It also sounds creepy. Prodigy is a song from Yu and Yang stage. It's, you guessed it, another breakbeat song. The song is similar to Ryu's stage with the intro taking long before the breakbeat start. You Blew My Mind is a song from Dudley stage. It's another house music that makes you feel like you're in a fashion show or a dance party while the people outside are fighting for no reason. Q is a song from its name, The Theme of Q. It starts with a synthesizer, then the breakbeat start as well. So the second bonus stage song is called Parry the Basketballs. It has a feeling like listening to hip hop music while playing basketball, but guess what? The album version includes infinite rapping again. Crazy Chili Dog, I don't know why it's named like this, but it's a song from Urine Stage. The song is a drum and bass with guitar playing on it. The last song for the fighter stage is the boss fight called Psych Out, which is a song from Jill Stage. Jill's song is another drum and bass that has a similar fast pace as the Akuma stage, and I kid you not how much I was pissed off for not beating him as a kid and not realizing that the reason why he revived after you knock him out was his super art was full. Now we finish all the character stage music, let's get into the endings and the credit. There are two ending songs to this. The first ending has a piano playing so beautifully that it just sounds so relaxing after you beat the final boss in this game. The second ending is a breakbeat that includes a synthesizer as well as is fast paced. The credit song is none other than infinite rapping on a jazzy hip hop instrumental. The lyrics talks about the victory after you defeated the boss Jill and congratulate you for what you got through with many trials and tribulations. And that's it. That's all the soundtrack that I listed on Third Strike of Street Fighter. It's definitely one of my favorite video game soundtracks. Keep in mind, this was made in 1999, and having rap songs on a video game soundtrack was pretty rare in the 90s, until 4 months later when Tony Hawk Pro Skater was released, which changed the video game soundtrack forever in the following year. Not only did Street Fighter Third Strike become a memorable soundtrack, but the game also became popular in fighting game competition that they still play nationwide. The soundtrack became iconic to this day, and Capcom decided to do a rap soundtrack again on Street Fighter 6, but it kinda sucked. Why, you may ask? The rapping part of some of the soundtracks just sounds so dated and also sounds like one of those shitty gym raps you see on YouTube. The soundtrack on Third Strike helps that any type of music can match with any fighting games, and not just darker gritty songs to fight for, which helps with any genre of music. That's what I love about fighting game soundtrack is that they can have uplifting and dark songs with any character deemed to battle with, and music helps to motivate what's going on and concentrate like it's a movie fight scene with music playing in the background. And that's why Third Strike Street Fighter 3 is my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. Thank you so much for watching my video. Consider liking and subscribing for more videos to come. I'll see you next time.